Hello and welcome to the fifth and final day of Pension Awareness Week. I'm John Sherlock from ICSP and I'll be your host for today's webinar. Joining me today we have Emily Wilson, Senior Training Consultant from ICSP, and Brendan Kavanagh, Team Leader from Scheme Events, also from ICSP. And from Cabinet Office we have Andy Jones, Engagement Manager for Civil Service and Royal Mail Pensions. As you know, today's session is a beginner's guide to annual benefit statements, and we've chosen to do this session because we know that around 30% of our members use their annual benefit statement to manage their pension. So today, our experts are going to walk you through what an ABS is, how you can access yours, and how to get the most from it. We'll also be demonstrating the Retirement Modeler, which is one of the key pension planning tools available to you. You may notice that we've changed the format of today's session very slightly. So instead of posting individual questions to the panel, you'll be asked to vote on a range of topics you would like our panel to discuss later on. We will then put the most frequently asked questions on those topics to our panel. We've done this based on feedback from attendees of previous sessions, and it means that our panel will be able to answer the most popular questions on those most popular topics. Okay, so without further ado, we're now going to jump straight into today's session. And to begin with, we'd like you to tell us which topics you'd like our panel of experts to discuss later on. To do that, simply choose two topics from the list that appeared on your screen at the start of the session. And if you haven't done that already, the survey will be on the screen for the next few minutes or so please do vote. Whilst you're doing that, I'd just like to remind you to give us your feedback on today's event. You can do that by completing a short survey that will be emailed to you later on. Your feedback really is important to us as it helps us to improve and tailor these events, so please do take the time to complete it. Finally, if you do have a specific question or problem with your pension that isn't covered in today's session, I would urge you to consider taking part in one of our Pension Power training sessions. Pension Power is a 1-hour webinar delivered by pensions experts. It's completely free and it's designed to help you get to grips with your pension. If you'd like to know more about Pension Power, please stick around until the end of today's session when we will talk a little bit more about it. Okay, so before I hand over to our first speaker, we're going to launch our second poll of the day. And the question we would like you to answer is, how useful do you find your annual benefit statement? So how useful do you find your annual benefit statement? Again, that survey is going to be live for the next few minutes, so please do let us know your answer to that one. Okay, so I'm now going to hand over to our first speaker, Emily Wilson, who's going to be talking all about benefit statements. Over to you, Emily.
Thank you, John, and hi to everyone that's on for day 5 of Pension Awareness Week. So as John said, my name's Emily Wilson and I'm Senior Training Consultant for ICSP, and I'm going to be talking to you all about benefit statements really. So benefit statements is a really hot topic at the moment. We're right in the middle of benefit statement season as well, so it's something that we're getting asked about a lot, so it's really relevant to the times. I've just shared my screen, so you should be able to see that now. What we're going to cover today is what is an ABS. So ABS stands for Annual Benefit Statements. We're going to look at when you actually get it. So 2022s are now all published online. We'll look at how you get it, what you should do when you get it as well, which is the main thing, and then kind of what you need to do if you have any queries or need any more information to help understand it. So first and foremost, what is an annual benefit statement? So this is a document that we produce for you once a year, and it's just to show you where you're up to with your pension accrual, basically. So it's a snapshot of your position as of the 31st of March. So you have to be an active member of the scheme on the 31st of March each year to then get a benefit statement that year. It shows the benefits that you've built up to that date. So it's not with projections up to your normal retirement age. It's what you've accrued up to that age based on your pensionable earnings and a percentage of your pay at the moment. So it also includes more information than that. You've got some information about death benefits, a little bit about tax, where you can go to get more information. And we're going to be doing a walkthrough of a statement with you later, just to show you the different sections and explain what they all mean. It's got a lot of information in there about how the figures have been calculated. So if you did ever want to look into it and see, how have we arrived at this figure, there's lots of guidance there to help you do that. But as John mentioned as well, our pension power sessions explain how each scheme is calculated too. So of course you can have a look at the guidance yourself, but you can also come and join us on a pension power session and we'll walk through that for you. So it also shows your tax position. This is specifically referencing the lifetime allowance. So I'll just quickly explain what that is. The lifetime allowance is a tax limit set by HMRC on the amount of pension income that you can basically draw in retirement without triggering a further tax charge. The current limit for that is 1.0731 million. And I know that that might sound like a lot, but that converts down into having an annual pension of about £53,500. I think it's just important to point out that limit is for all of your pensions that you have combined. So it's not individual to each scheme that you've got. So of course, the benefit statement will tell you how much of that limit is being taken up by your civil service pension, but we won't have access to any other pensions that you've got. So just keep that in mind. So when do you get it? They're produced over the summer, normally between about mid-June up to the 31st of August. So over that couple of month period is when they're all kind of produced. But remember, it's based on the position as of the 31st of March. So you had to have been an active member of the scheme on the 31st of March that year to then get a statement that summer. I think it's also good to remember if you've had any transfers in since the 31st of March, if you've had any added pension purchases complete after the 31st of March, of course, they're not going to show on that year's benefit statement. So it's just a snapshot based on the 31st of March each year. Normally, when the production starts, something called a distribution schedule is put online to the scheme website. So that is civilservicepensionscheme.org.uk. And it just gives a little bit of a more specific idea of when you might expect your benefit statements, depending on which employer and department you're with. So all of them are sent over the course of a couple of months, but you can look at that distribution schedule to get something a bit more specific than that. So how are they actually produced? Well, they're all online now, and that's been the case for a couple of years now, since 2020, I believe. Benefit statements have been put online to the pension portal as standard. You could still possibly request a paper copy if you need one. Obviously, you can just get in touch with us if you need one of them, or you can print off your benefit statement online from the portal. So the pension portal, this is the online login facility on the scheme website, and that's where you go to view your benefit statements, your personal details. You can update your death benefit nomination as well, and you can use our retirement calculators. So it's a lot more than just your benefit statement, but that is where you would go to get it and to see the position as of the 31st of March. So what do you actually do, or what should you do when you get your benefit statement? It sounds obvious, read it, but make sure you really do have a good look over it, just because the information on there needs to be right in order for the calculators to be right for you as well. So our retirement modeler, which is on the portal, it's pre-populated using the information from your last benefit statement. So it's really, really important that whenever a statement is produced, you always put the time aside to check over it, because them two things really go hand in hand. When we say read it and check it, obviously there's a lot of information on there. I think the kind of three main points I would suggest to check on there. So number one, your start date. Does the start date reflect all of your current active service? So it includes your current period of continuous service. Number two, the pensionable pay figure on there. So that tells you the pay figure that we've used to calculate your benefits from the previous 12 months of that statement. So have a little sense check of that. Does it match up with what you've received as a pay during that year? There are certain elements of your pensionable pay that may not be pensionable. So always just double check with your employer if you've got any queries about that first of all. So if the figure doesn't quite match up, check in with your employer first of all, just in case you've got any sort of non-pensionable elements to your pay. And that could explain the difference that you see. And tip number three, I would say just to check that all of your schemes are on there if it's continuous service. So the benefit statements show your active awards. For example, if you moved from Classic over to Alpha with no break in service, they should both be shown on that benefit statement. Preserved awards don't show on there. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. But yeah, they're the three main tips, I would say. And then it kind of goes without saying, your personal details also. So is your date of birth correct on there? Are we up to date with your correct contact details and address? So kind of make a little list, I would say, to take away from today of things that you're going to check on that benefit statement. Once you've checked over it, if you've got a query then, what do you need to do? Well, first of all, there's a lot of guidance on the scheme website. A lot of work has been put into the benefit statements over the last few years in particular to try and make them as easy to understand as possible, but also to give you a lot of guidance in case you did have any queries following it. So go to the annual benefit statement page on the Civil Service Pension Scheme website. You'll find a lot of useful information on there. The notes on the statements themselves, they're really useful as well. And it can seem like a lot of information on the surface looking at it, but it's there for a reason. So take the time to read through the notes. It's going to point you to some useful reference points. If you can't find an answer to the question or the query that you've got, then you can contact us, the scheme administrator, my CSP, and we've got a contact us page on the website. But also, on your benefit statement itself, there's a specific email address that you can route any benefit statement queries to. So that would be the preferred method. Just to kind of add into this, it's not on the slide, but just to add in, your employer as well, your employing department, they deal with pensions day in, day out, a lot of them. So they're normally, really well clued up about this sort of stuff, and they should also be able to help you. So, know that you can approach them as well if need be, and they might be able to help you out. Okay, so there we have it for kind of the basics of benefit statements. A little bit later on, we're going to be looking at it in a bit more detail. So the different sections, what they mean, and we're going to do a demonstration of the retirement modeler for you as well. So that's it from me for now. Thank you very much. And I'm going to hand back over to John.
Thanks very much, Emily. That was really helpful and a great introduction to today's session. Well, we're now going to have a quick look at the results of the polling question. So we asked you, how useful do you find your annual benefit statement? And I can tell you that 35% of you have said that it is very useful, 55% somewhat useful, and unfortunately 11% have said it's not very useful at all. So I'm not sure whether that's something maybe that we could look to address in the future. But what I would say is absolutely echoing what Emily has just said and presented back. There is a lot of information already on the scheme website about the annual benefit statement, and a lot of work has gone into that page to make sure that it answers many of the frequently asked questions and a lot of the issues that we know members may have with trying to understand it. So the first point of call would always be the scheme website for any issues there. And as Emily also mentioned, there is a dedicated email address. If your answer can't be answered on the scheme website, then there is a dedicated email address as well. Okay. Okay, moving on. We're just going to introduce the next poll. And the next poll is, do you find your annual benefit statement easy to understand? So if you could complete that, that'll be on screen for the next few minutes. If you could let us know the answers, your answer to that one, that would be really helpful. And again, that will go into helping us to improve annual benefit statements in the future. We're now going to go back over to Emily, who'll be walking us through a typical ABS and demonstrating how your ABS works alongside the retirement modeler, which again is one of the key planning tools that you have. So back over to you, Emily.
Thank you, John. Short break for me there. So yeah, we're now going to look into the actual benefit statement itself in a little bit more detail. So I'm just sharing my screen now. Just be a second. Here we go. So understanding your benefit statement. I just want to first of all talk quickly about the pension portal. So this is the online login facility on the scheme website, and this is where your benefit statements are stored and produced. So the registration process for the portal, it's very recently changed. So hopefully a lot of you are already registered, but if you're not, it's definitely worth your while to go and get registered for the portal. Like I say, it's a lot more than just your benefit statement, but just for today's topic, it's where you would go to view this document. The registration process now, it's been changed following member feedback, really, just to make it easier for people to access. So previously you needed some specific codes to get onto the portal. You don't need them codes anymore. What you'll need is your national insurance number, your date of birth, the name of your employing department, and you'll need a mobile phone handy as well. So hopefully you'll find that easier to register. Once you're registered and you're logged in, you're going to have access to a page that looks like this. So it's called the Pension Benefits Dashboard. There are two options here to click on. So the one in today's context is your benefit statement. I just want to point out on the right-hand side as well, it shows you what your pension member number is. So if ever we ask you for your member number, that's the number that you should be quoting. It also tells you what your current scheme is and the date that you joined the civil service pension scheme. So just a little summary on the right-hand side of your pension details. But if you click on view your ABS, you'll be presented with this page. And it's just going to give you an overview of the figures on your last benefit statement. So here you can see this Alpha member. The normal pension age for Alpha is their state pension age, so it's 68 in this case, and it tells them the annual pension that they've built up. But this is a dual member, so they previously were in the premium scheme before they moved over to Alpha. So just under that, it's got a summary of that as well. So the normal pension age for their premium, you can see is 60, and it gives them their annual amount of pension. On this page, you can see previous benefit statements as well. So benefit statements started going online to the portal in 2019. So that's how far you can see back there, if you ever did want to check it. I should just point out at this point, your most recent benefit statement is to be taken as the one that is sort of the most correct and most up to date, because we've had all kinds of new data through from your employer each year as we produce a new statement for you. So the latest one should always be the figures that you're taking it from. When you open up your benefit statement, the first page will just give your own personal details, and it's full of really useful notes, so suggested pages on the website that you can go to help you understand your benefit statement. Page 3 normally shows something called your benefits at a glance. So this really is the best page for you to go to if your question is, I just want to know overall what I've accrued in each scheme and what the normal pension age is to access them from. So this page shows you the value of the Alpha pension that you've got, but also shows you the annual pension in any previous scheme that you were in. Remember, this shows continuous service. The figures included here are based on you claiming it at the normal pension age for them schemes. So it hasn't factored in any early retirement reductions here. It hasn't got any projections. It's showing you that as of the 31st of March this year, this is what you've accrued based on your scheme's normal pension age. What's not included here is deferred benefits. So if you've got a previous period of employment and you've got a pension from that period of service, that doesn't show on these benefit statements. At the moment, you'll need to request kind of a separate statement for that, just by getting in touch with our inquiry centre. We've got a contact us details page on the website. Just kind of watch that space though, because hopefully in the future, we are going to be putting that facility on the portal for you to hopefully be able to view your deferred benefits on there. Don't have a confirmed date or anything for that at the moment, but it's something that we're looking into and we're working on. So bear with us for the time being. But like I say, for the time being, you can email us to request a statement. So that was the at a glance page. The next page is just kind of a continuation of that, but it's talking about the death in service benefits. So first of all, we've got the death in service lump sum. So it gives you the expected amount of your death benefit lump sum. This is the one-off payment that you nominate someone to receive for when you pass away. You can nominate anyone for that. It doesn't need to be a family member. It can be a friend, a charity, an organisation. It's up to you. And you can also have multiple nominees for that as well. And you just specify how you want that split percentage-wise when you make the nomination. The little paragraph under that just tells you how we've come to that figure, so the calculation that we've used to get there. For the most part, for most active members, it's normally around 2 times your final pensionable earnings. What it also shows on this page is your expected survivor's pension. So this is the dependent pension that could be transferable to your spouse, civil partner or cohabiting partner when you pass away. This is ongoing monthly payments. These two elements, so the lump sum and the dependent pensions, people often get them confused. So I just think it's really important to emphasise the difference between them here while we've got the chance. So a death benefit lump sum is something that you nominate someone to receive, and that can be anyone. A dependent pension is ongoing monthly payments for a spouse, cohabiting partner when you pass away. So two completely separate things. The section just under this, your death benefit nominee. So this shows if we do have anyone on file as a nominated recipient of the death benefit lump sum. If this section is blank, it means that we didn't hold a death benefit nomination for you as of the 31st of March that year. So just bringing it back to that date, if you've updated your death benefit nominee since that date, then no need to worry, you will have had confirmation about that. But remember, the statement itself is based on the 31st of March, so that's why it would show as blank if you've updated it since. So if it is showing as blank and you know you haven't since updated it, it might be worth having a think about that if you do want to get someone nominated. You can nominate someone either by, well, logging in online to the pension portal, you can just do it there. But we do also have a death benefit nomination form from the member forms section of the scheme website as well. So if you'd rather do it that way, that's also fine. The following page will show you a little bit more detail about your alpha pension. So of course, everyone is now in alpha from the 1st of April this year. So this is going to give a little bit of a further breakdown if you've got service in alpha up to that point. It tells you the date that you joined alpha, how many years you've contributed, and what the normal pension age is, which remember is your state pension age. It also shows the pensionable earnings figure that we've used in that last scheme year to calculate your alpha. So alpha is called a career average scheme, and it builds up at a rate of 2.32% of your actual pensionable earnings each year. So if you've worked part-time throughout that scheme year, for example, that's going to be reflected here in the pensionable pay figure. And then it shows the annual pension you've accrued to date, and it gives a little bit more detail about the death benefits in alpha specifically as well. Again, with figures so that you know what to expect. The following page just breaks that down even further for you to understand how it happens over the last year. So, opening balance. This is telling you that as of the 1st of April of the scheme year that has just passed, this is what your annual alpha pension was. Added this year, that's showing you how we've added in accrual for this scheme year that's just ended. So you can see with this person, we've got their pensionable earnings, £16,283. We've calculated 2.32% of that, which is alpha's accrual rate. So that means they've accrued this year £377 of alpha pension. Each year, the alpha pensions are also adjusted with inflation. So it's based on a type of inflation called CPI, that's Consumer Price Index. So that's what the third column references. Adding all that together, this is now your closing balance as of the end of the scheme year that's just ended. So £2,377 for this person. So I think it's really good that it gives you that level of detail so that you can really check every element that we've used and make sure everything looks about right to you. And remember, if it doesn't, refer to the website as a first port of call to see if there's any useful guidance there. But of course, you can raise a query with us or with your employer. It then goes on to give a more detailed overview of any previous pensions. Remember, these statements include all of your current service, even if it was in a previous scheme. So in this example, this is a premium member. So you can see the date that they joined premium. Here it was 2003. It shows their last day in premium, which of course was the day before they moved over to alpha. It then shows qualifying and reckonable service. We get quite a few queries about this, so I'm just going to take the time to explain what that means. There's two different types of service that you'll see with these final salary schemes. Qualifying service is the length of time that has actually passed since you first started contributing to that scheme. So for this member, it's 11 years, 343 days. The reckonable service is what we use to actually calculate your pension, and that is the length of time that's passed, but minus any unpaid breaks or absences. So anything unpaid has been taken off there. It also reflects part-time work. So if you've ever worked part-time in a final salary scheme, you will have been accruing reckonable service at a pro rata rate, basically proportionate to the hours that you worked. So often that is the reason why them two different types of service would be different. You've either had quite a few unpaid breaks or absences, or you've had a period of part-time work while you were in that scheme. It just reconfirms the normal pension age for premium, which we know is 60, And of course, it's got the pensionable earnings up to the end of that scheme year as well. Pensionable earnings in final salary schemes, so classic and premium, it's always the full-time equivalent earnings figure. And the reason for that is because any part-time work has already been accounted for in the reckonable service, remember. So it's the full-time equivalent pay figure for any final salary schemes, which is classic, premium, or classic plus as well. Let's not forget about classic plus members. A little bit further down, it just goes on to explain this is the annual pension that you've accrued in total for this scheme. So if this was classic, it would also show you the automatic lump sum that you've got there as well. What it doesn't show you on the benefit statements is the maximum lump sum that's available from the benefits you've accrued, but you can really easily get that by using the retirement modeler on the scheme website. And I'm going to be doing you a demo of that after this presentation. So just hang fire and we'll go through how you can see that. It then just goes on to explain a little bit more about whichever previous scheme it was that you were in. So the survivor's pension and the death benefits as well. The good thing about the survivor pension, which is the dependent pension, the ongoing monthly payment for a spouse, it tells you how we've arrived at that figure. So for premium, it's 37.5% of your pension. So really good for you to see that you can do these calculations yourself based on the figures in your statement, 37.5%, and you'll be able to come to that figure. So there's a lot of sense checks that you can do on the statement yourself to make sure that everything looks right to you. Something that's really important just to explain about these benefit statements, it's based on the data that we hold for you as of the 31st of March that year. So your information is sent over to us electronically on a monthly basis. It's sent by your employer. They use a data transfer method called an interface. So we get this data from your employer. We use that to build your record and to then calculate your pension benefits in accordance with the scheme rules, of course. So it's based on what we held on file for you as of the 31st of March. If you think anything is wrong about your personal details on your statement, you need to let your employer know so that they can update their records, because remember, ultimately what they hold does filter through to us through this monthly method. So you always need to make sure that both us and your employer are kept up to date with your information so that everything's accurate when the time comes. Just a reminder of what you should do if you have a query. So number one, check the benefit statement page on the website. I think you'll find that really useful. Read over the notes part of the statement. Like I say, I know it can seem like a lot of information to read, but it's there to help you. So make the most of it. Contact the scheme administrator if you do need any further help to your questions. Remember, there's a dedicated email address for this on your benefit statement. But just to kind of add into that, the pension power sessions, I think you'll find really useful if you do receive your benefit statement and you think, I just can't make heads or tails of this. I'm reading the information, but it's not something I'm able to quite take in right now. Come along to a pension power session. It's free of charge. It's a 1-hour webinar. It's completely funded by the scheme manager, the Cabinet Office, to try and help you. And we run them every single day. So you should be able to find a date and time that suits you. So if you go to the scheme website, type in pension power and come and hop onto one of the sessions. And hopefully after the session, you can look at your benefit statement with kind of a whole new understanding of how it all works. I think you'll find it useful. Okay. So there we have it for the actual presentation itself. I'm just going to quickly go straight on to do you a demonstration of the retirement modeler. So I'm just going to swap my screens now, just a second. There we go. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, so there's two ways that you can access this retirement modeler. The first would be if you log into the pension portal, and you'll find a slightly different version of this retirement modeler because it's actually all pre-populated. So it's pre-populated, pulling through the details from your last benefit statement. So all you need to do in the version on the portal is literally just pick the date that you want the projection for and off you go. It runs your results with everything pre-populated. The other way that you can access the modeler is without logging into the portal. If you just go to the normal tools and calculators page on the Civil Service Pension Scheme website, and you'll find this version of the modeler. It works much in the same way. It just means that you've got to manually enter your own information. And actually, you would need to go to your latest benefit statement from the portal anyway to get that information. So, you know, you can use the pre-populated version, but I'm gonna do a little demo here on how you would use the manual version. Before you get to this screen, there's an eligibility check. I would say just have a little read of that, only because there's a very, very small number of cases where maybe the modeler might not be exactly what you need. So have a look at that eligibility check first, which is on the previous page to this. Once you're good to go, access the modeler, and then it asks you which year's benefit statement you're using. So you should always really be using your most recent one. So let's go with 2022. Date of birth, let's go with, there we go, 20th of March, 1984. Pensionable earnings, let's just take kind of an average, let's say 30, and it asks what scheme you're currently in. So remember, from the 1st of April this year, that's going to be alpha for everyone. Gender, let's say male. Alpha pension, let's go with, so let's assume that I moved over to Alpha when it first launched in 2015. Do you have an EPA and do you have an added pension? These are top-up options. If any of you were on the session yesterday for Pension Awareness Week, we spoke about top-up options. So, you know, some of you might have been on there. EPA is a way for you to increase your monthly contributions. And in doing so, you're basically buying the ability to access part of your alpha pension earlier than normal without any of the normal early retirement reductions. Added pension is where you're literally purchasing more annual rate of pension in alpha for when you then retire. And then with that extra pension that you purchased, you can do all of the same things such as early retirement, maximum lump sums, and so on. So have a look at the top-up option page on the website if you're interested. We've got calculators for both of these as well. So have a little play around with them. If you did want to set up any top-up options, monthly contributions can only start every April. And the deadline for that is normally around the beginning of March, and that's just been released. So have a little think. For this demo purpose, I'm just going to say that I don't have either of them. I imagine most members on today are probably dual members with previous service. So let's say that I have previous service. What date are you thinking of retiring? Let's just go with the preset date that it gives and then calculate my estimate. So this has projected what I've accrued right up to my 65th birthday. So this is automatically set to 65. Remember, normal pension age for alpha is your state pension age. So this is a couple of years worth of early retirement here. The figure that it produces for you here is it's a really great all-rounder. It includes projections based on you accruing pension right up to that date, but it's also automatically taken off early retirement reductions as well. So it really is a great tool to get an all-round figure to plan for your retirement. At the moment, the estimated cash lump sum is shown as 0, and that's because premium and alpha don't come with an automatic lump sum, but you can still take one from either of them. So you can have a little play around with the sliders here, so you can move the age that you're looking to claim it. If we move that up to alpha's normal pension age, then there wouldn't be any reductions for it. What's great is this figure gives you both of the schemes that you're in, but just to the right-hand side here, it breaks that down scheme by scheme. So it tells me how much of this figure is being made up of my premium section and how much is coming from my alpha, just in case you wanted to look into maybe claiming only one at the date that you're looking to retire. But let's bring that back down to 65. And then this lump sum slider, it couldn't be easier to use. You literally just move it and drop it wherever you want. So with these defined benefit schemes, you can take up to a maximum of 25% of your overall pot value as a tax-free lump sum. So with me moving this right up, this is the maximum that I'm allowed to take. So that is considered to be 25% of my overall pot value, and that's tax-free. And you can see the pension amount has reduced to reflect it as well. You don't have to take the maximum lump sum, of course. You can take anything in between, and that's where this slider just really comes into its own. There are manual ways to calculate this, but you'd be sat there for a long time trying to do manual calculations for every possible lump sum figure. So why not just come to this calculator? I mean, it couldn't be easier to use from a lump sum perspective. Okay, so let's just move that back down. What the retirement modeler can't always accurately predict is future inflationary increases. And I think any pension scheme wouldn't be able to do that. You know, if we look at the difference from now to the same time last year, the difference in inflation, you know, it can be really difficult to predict. But what you can do is you can edit here and you can factor in that you might have some salary increases going forward. So you can say or assume that each year your salary will be changing by 1%, 2%. You can go up to a maximum of 4%. And you can see the difference that it makes on your figures as well. So presumably, or hopefully, there would have been some sort of pay increase from now up to my 60th birthday or 65th birthday rather. It just depends on what that actually is, but you can factor that in at this point. Of course, you can reset it if you want to completely take off everything that you put in, but you can also do comparisons. So I can add this to a sheet at the bottom. So you can have a look at a couple of different ages and lump sum options, save them all as a comparison, and then scroll right down here and you've got a summary of figures for each of them scenarios that you've looked at. So it really, really is a really useful tool. Do you know, feedback has been that this is such a useful tool. I don't know what people ever did without this modeler. And we find that once people are on it, they're never off it. Constantly checking, you know, when can I retire? Can I go yet? So hopefully you think the same. Hopefully you find it easy to use. Hopefully that demonstration has been useful. So that is it from me today for now. And I'm going to pass back over to John. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Emily. Well, I'm sure you'll agree that was really helpful, and it was a whistle-stop tour of the ABS and the modeler. Please don't worry if you did miss anything then. All of these sessions are being recorded and will be available to watch again on Catch Up via the scheme website. And we will email you to let you know when they're available to rewatch, so do look out for that. Okay, moving on, we're just going to have a quick look at the results of the last poll. So we asked you, do you find your annual benefit statement easy to understand? So 34% of you have said, yes, I find my benefit statement easy to understand. However, 66% of you have said that it isn't easy to understand. And obviously, looking at those results, this is an area that, you know, we are continually looking to improve. And as Emily said there, if you are currently struggling to understand your ABS, then attending a pension power session should be able to help you. There's also a video on the website that you can go and look at, which is on the ABS page on the scheme website. So please do check that out first and foremost. So thank you very much for that feedback. Okay, we're now going to launch our final poll of the day. And the question we'd like you to answer is, have you used your annual benefit statement with one of our retirement modelers? So as usual, that question is going to be live for the next few minutes. So please do let us know your feedback to that one. Okay, so we are just over halfway through the session today. I hope you found it useful and enjoyed it so far. For the next 20 or 25 minutes or so, we're now going to be looking at asking our panel of experts some frequently asked questions. And these are questions that have been submitted via our inquiry centre, previous Live at Lunch events, Pension Awareness Week, and other sources of information. So we've distilled all these questions into frequently asked questions, and we're now going to look at those in relation to the two topics that you voted for earlier. So I can see that the two topics, the most popular topics that you've asked our panel to look at, are differences on my annual benefit statement and accessing your ABS. So we're going to go to our first question, and it's going to be for Brendan. So hello, Brendan. We're going to bring you in now, and this question is, I think something on my statement may be incorrect. How do I raise it?
Hey John, hello everyone. Yes, so if you think there is an error on your annual benefit statement, you can raise a query by emailing us at absqueries@mycsp.co.uk and just let us know what the issue is. If it's do we think something's wrong with the statement, whether it's your pay is not correct or you think the reputable service is incorrect. Just give us as much information as you can on what you believe is wrong with the statement. Once that comes over to us, we'll investigate it fully and we'll provide you with an answer, whether we go back to for more information from the employer or just give you a breakdown of how the statement actually is calculated.
Thanks, Brendan. Brendan, is there any information that a member might need to include in their email when they send it to ABS Queries inbox?
So, like the data protection, so the member number, national insurance number. If you send it from the work email as well, that's something we think we can use as data protection. And then basically, again, just as much information as they can provide us, so we can fully investigate the query that you have.
That's great. Thanks very much, Brendan. Okay, Andy, I'm going to go to you today for this question. So the question is, why aren't my and my employer contributions shown on my annual benefit statement? How does this pension amount correlate to the contributions being paid? So quite a complicated question there, Andy, for you.
Oh, cheers for the complicated one, John. Thanks very much. This all comes down to the type of pension scheme that the civil service pension scheme is. Predominantly, there are two types of pension schemes out there. The one that a lot of people are used to are what are called defined contribution schemes, where contributions that an individual and their employer makes are invested in stocks and shares, and it creates a pot of cash. With a defined benefit scheme, the contributions that are made by both the member and employer actually have no correlation or direct impact on the amount of pension an individual gets. With a defined benefit scheme, there is a set amount of calculation which is used to determine the pension that you get, which means there is no risk associated to it at all, like there is with a common defined contribution scheme. So the contributions aren't shown because, like I say, they have no impact on the amount of pension you actually get. The information instead that is provided is what pension you would have. If you do want to see what contributions you're paying, the best place to look is your payslip. Every single month you see on all your payslips how much you're paying, and it shows you the annual amount or the year-to-date figure that your employer is paid in as well, if you really wanted to see how much your employer is contributing to your pension scheme. Just for information purposes, I'm going to go in a little bit more. Your employer pays anywhere between 26.6 and 30.3%, depending upon how much you earn. I hope that helps, John.
Thanks, Andy. Yeah, that's really helpful and a great tip regarding looking at your payslip. Brilliant. And just to further that, I think, Andy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think all of the employer and member contribution rates can be found on the scheme website.
Yeah, that's right. It's literally, if you go on the scheme website under, I think it's the Knowledge Bank, or if you just type in contributions, it'll come up and you can see it on there. Like I say, any changes that we make to contribution scheme, which I don't think we're not on about doing yet anyway. We do review them each year about the contribution rates. They'd be announced and people would be told directly if there are changes to any of the contribution rates.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Andy. Brendan, I'm going to come back to you with this question. A member has asked, I worked for the civil service years ago and then left. I've now returned. Why doesn't my ABS show the pension I built up then as well as what I'm building up now?
Cheers, John. So it's the same as what Emily was saying before. If you've left the civil service for more than 5 years, the previous service is called a deferred award. So it won't show on your annual benefit statement. That just shows your current service. If you would like to know what your previous service is, just send us an email or call us up and we'll send you what's called a deferred statement. And that'll show, basically, it's quite similar to an annual benefit statement. It'll show you how much pension you have at the date of request, but it will not be on your current statement. It'll be a deferred statement you'll need to request.
Thanks, Brendan. Okay, Emily, we're going to come back to you now. The question is, why are the figures on my statement different to a recent estimate that I've received?
Thanks, John. Hi again, everyone. You've seen a lot of me today. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But yeah, so why are figures different to a recent estimate that you've calculated? Well, the benefit statements themselves, remember, they're based on the position as of the 31st of March that year. So if any of your circumstances have changed since then then it's just not going to be reflected on that year's benefit statement. Of course, you can do kind of a manual calculation yourself. So let's say your pay has changed. You can do a manual calculation yourself to see what impact that'll have on your pension figures. Good that you're able to do manual calculations, by the way. I think that's one of the great things about a defined benefit scheme, because it's based on set calculations. It's actually really not that difficult to do these manual calculations and projections. So that's great. But remember, the benefit statement itself only shows the 31st of March. So also, if you've had a transfer in sort of finalised since that date, or you've had an added pension purchase finalised since that date, neither of them are going to be shown on your statement either. So 99% of the time, that's going to explain why them figures are different. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Emily. Okay, we're going to look at we're going to move on to the next topic now and have a look at some questions that have been asked by members regarding accessing their ABS. Some of these may have been covered already, but as I say, these are frequently asked, and it can't hurt to reinforce some of the key points. So the first question is for yourself, Andy, and it is, can I choose how to receive my statement? I want to continue to receive a paper copy. Andy.
Cheers, John. Yes, you can. You just need to let the ABS team know that you want to receive it that way. Usually, I think it's around the 31st of May that you need to let people know. The other thing I want to pick up on is those individuals who may have additional needs, like if you need your annual benefits in Braille, something like that, that can be requested and one can be provided to you. So you're able to take things in that you actually need to. But to answer the question very shortly, yes, you can. You can change it on, either have it through digital and we'll drop you an email when it's loaded, or you can request it via paper as well. But you need to do that, as I say, by the 31st of May each year.
Thanks, Andy. Great. And thank you for the reconfirming. I think Emily mentioned that deadline in presentation. So it's the 31st of May to request a change to how you receive your benefit statement this year. Okay, the next question is for you, Emily, and it is, I've been informed that my benefit statement is available to view online. Is there any guidance on how to access it? So I think we've covered this one already. So just to confirm, or to reconfirm for the last time, can you give us a couple of points in terms of what members can do to find out how to access their benefit statement for the first time?
Sure. Yeah, thanks, John. So to access your benefit statements, you need to go to the pension portal. So when they say your benefit statement is online, that's what they're referring to. And the pension portal is the online login facility on the scheme website. So you go there to view your benefit statements, to update your death benefit nomination, to check your personal details, and then to use the pre-populated retirement modeler. You need to register for the portal if you haven't already registered. Like I say, the process has literally only just changed, so it's good timing, really, today's session. The previous process meant that you needed a couple of quite specific codes, and following feedback from people who had already tried to register, the process was changed just to try and make that a little bit easier for everyone. So you don't need specific codes now. What you'll need to have to hand is your national insurance number, your date of birth, the name of your employer, and a mobile phone. So it's information that we would assume you would know about yourself anyway, you know, your date of birth, your national insurance number, and your employer. But make sure you've got a telephone, a mobile phone to hand as well, just because when you register, but also once you then log in going forward, we've set up an enhanced security system on there called two-factor authentication. And it's just to make your data and details a little bit more secure. So you'll register, it'll ping something through to your phone with a verification code that you'll then need to put in to then actually access the portal and view your benefit statement. And remember, once you're logged in, you're presented with the dashboard, which has got two options to click. One of them is the retirement modeler, and one of them is your benefit statement. So if you click on that, you've got your latest benefit statement there. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Emily. That's really helpful. Okay, I'm just checking the time. We've probably got time for maybe two, maybe three questions. So the next question is for you, Andy, and it is, how do I use my ABS with the retirement modeler? Now, I know this is something that Emily covered earlier, but it would be good to just go through that once more. How do I use my ABS with the modeler?
If you don't mind, John, I'm going to expand on that a little bit. Because one of the questions we often get asked is, you know, what do we use our annual benefit statement for? And my always response is you use it for your retirement planning. So to answer purely that question about how do you use the annual benefit statement with the retirement modeler, Simply, as Emily said, you go on the portal and all the information that is used on the annual benefit statement has already been pre-populated. And then you project forward to what your retirement date is, you're wanting your retirement date to be. The one thing I would always say is have a look at that figure and go, is that going to give me the lifestyle that I want when I retire? And people often say, it's like, what is a good pension? How much do I need? Things like that. There's a great piece of research that was carried out by the Pension Living Standards Agency, along with Loughborough University, to develop certain target retirement amounts to create I think it was their phrases are a basic, a comfortable, and a luxurious lifestyle. And the amounts span from something like I think it was like 16,000 all the way to £30,000 a year that an individual would need to retire, either on, like I say, that basic lifestyle or that luxurious lifestyle. So what I always do is, and when I speak to people, is go, right, use a retirement modeler, think about any other pensions that you have on when you want to retire, and have a look at those targets, for want of a better phrase, or ideas of what a retirement would look like on certain amounts, and think, is my pensions in total gonna give me that lifestyle? If it's not, then you consider things like Emily mentioned before, where we saw it on the modeler, is considering things like added pension, or EPA or CSAVCs to actually increase the amount of pension that you want, or think about, do I want to go for that new job, that retirement, things like, not retirement, that promotion, things like that. So you can actually plan and effectively understand what your retirement will be like on the income from your pension. So yeah, if you're never going to look at your pension for 11 months of the year, look at it at least once, where when you get your annual benefit statement, use that as a trigger to predict and project what your retirement is likely to be like, and thinking about, is it going to be enough? Is it going to let me get a holiday each year? Is it going to put food on the table? All those things, those nice things that everyone wants to do when they actually retire. I hope that helps, John. And apologies if I expanded a bit too much there.
Thanks, Andy. No, not at all. That's I'm sure our audience has appreciated that expanded explanation. Andy, did you mention then there was a website that people could go to for was it a gov.uk website? I think you've mentioned previously for additional help.
That's a great question, John. So there is a website called the Pension Living Standards Agency, but Money Helper and the Money and Advice Service. Money Advice and Pension Service, sorry, they have some great tools on there that an individual can actually use to predict or estimate how much they would actually need. The Pension Living Standards Agency Association, give a kind of a target figure or an expectation or an example of what certain amounts of pension will be able to provide people. The calculator that's available on the Money Helper website, you can actually personalize it to what you think your income or your outgoings are going to be. So things like, how much do you want to spend on travel? How much do you want to spend on leisure time? So maybe go to the pub, it's Friday, things like that. So it's just taking everything into account that you can do or you should do to, like I say, is give you that really good personalized expectation or a target to achieve with your pension.
Thanks, Andy. That's really helpful. Thank you. Okay, so I think we have time for one more question. I'm going to come to you with this one, Emily, and it is: do I have to opt out of paperless every year, or is it just once?
Thank you, John. Yeah, good question. This is one that I've been asked quite a lot in our Pension Power sessions. So just to kind of explain what that is, first of all, when the benefit statements first went paperless, so whereby they were just being put online, members had the ability to opt out of that paperless, shall we say, and it just means that they continue to get one automatically through the post. It's only a small percentage of the population who choose to do that. Now, you need to let us know by the 31st of May, normally, to do that. So the question, do I need to redo that every year, or is it just the once? Actually, just the once will do. it kind of holds a bit of a marker on your record, let's say, to indicate that you still want a paper copy. Of course, if your circumstances change down the line and you then are happy to get them automatically online, then you just need to let us know and we can kind of remove that marker from the record. But also as well, if you need a paper copy of your statements, you could always log in online to the pension portal and print it off if you've got access to a printer, of course. But yeah, just the once, that's fine. And if your circumstances change in the future, you just need to let us know so that we can remove that marker. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Emily. Well, I think that is all the time we have today for questions. So thank you very much to our panel. That was really helpful. I'm sure our audience found it really helpful as well. Before we wrap up today's session, I'm just going to make a few more. Want to make a few more points, but before we move on to those, we're just going to have a little look at the results of our final poll, which was: have you used your annual benefit statement with one of our retirement modelers? Well, the results are in, and 46% yes have said yes, you have, and 54% no. So, well, hopefully after hearing from Emily and Andy today regarding how your ABS can be used in conjunction with other tools like the Retirement Modeler, hopefully more of you will actually do that. So, if you haven't already, please do. Please go and have a little look at the Retirement Modeler. So, thank you to everyone who took part in that poll. Okay, so to finish things off, we've got about 5 minutes left. I just wanted to talk a little bit more about Pension Power. It's been mentioned quite a lot today. So for those who don't know, who aren't aware of it, Pension Power is a free, award-winning training session that basically explains your pension in 1 hour. It's run online as a webinar, and it's designed to help you make more informed choices about your pension, leaving you more in control about your future. It's run by our pension experts who provide you with all the information you need about the scheme, its benefits, and all your options. Basically everything that makes your civil service pension one of the best of its kind. But if you haven't attended, then please don't just take my word for it. Have a listen to what Louise Iverton from DWP said about Pension Power and why she thinks it's hugely beneficial to both members and employers. Let's take a look at that now.
Firstly, I would like to say that it's great Cabinet Office are funding these free sessions to our members right across the board. I personally feel over the last few years we have really engaged more than ever, especially when it comes to members understanding their pensions. Pension Power is an opportunity for members to feel supported. It also includes all our new joiners and allows the younger generation to engage at an early stage. I would like to say thank you to all the members who have attended and supported Pension Power. When I first started my role, I always remember someone saying to me, Louise, make sure you understand your pension, think about the future and ask yourself one question. What is my salary when I retire?
Well, there you have it. Thank you very much to Louise for that. Okay, so if you are interested in booking a Pension Power session, simply head over to the scheme website. You can do that using the link that's provided, I think, to the right of my face right now. If not, you can just go to the scheme website and search for Pension Power in the search bar. Okay, so finally, I just wanted to mention one other thing, and it's the brand new Civil Service Pensions podcast. So Series 1 is out now. And it really is a great listen. Its episodes include a Pensions 101. There's an episode on life events, which includes how getting married, having children, or getting divorced can affect your pension. And of course, there's a retirements episode which features a real life member, and it really is a great way to find out more about your pension. You can listen or download it on any major podcast platform. Simply search Civil Service Pensions Podcast. And if you do download it, then please remember to subscribe to be notified about future episodes, because we've got some really great episodes dropping in season 2 coming soon. Well, sadly, our time now is up, but thanks again for joining us. As mentioned earlier, please let us know what you thought about today's session. by completing the short survey that will be emailed to you later on today. It only takes a few minutes to complete, and your feedback really will help us to tailor these events in future. So thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you to the panel. Enjoy the rest of your day, and goodbye.